Okay, got it. Thank you. So my name is Sharon, and I'm one of the teachers here at EBS. We've been Buddhists since 1980. And so this class is to help people get a handle on what Buddhism is in a way. And we have talked about Buddha was a real person. He was born in India about 2,500 years ago, 500 years before the Common Era for Jesus. And he was someone who felt moved by the traumatic time. He lived in a time when there was probably a pandemic. We don't know, but we know that there were huge migrations of people, and so a lot of upheaval, and also a lot of institutional breakdowns in all around in his area. Certainly, he was moved to leave home and try to figure out how to address that suffering, the suffering that was going on and the chaos. He tried all of the existing sages and leaders of the day he worked with. He also had a really good education, unusual because he'd grown up in a 1% kind of family, and he'd been very well educated. So he was, in terms of the world, he was probably about like we are, because we're better educated, better fed than most of the world's people. It's also a sense of responsibility for helping things. So he developed this system of meditation. And we'll do that tonight and we'll talk about it. But the readings for tonight that you guys did had to do with coming to the West, and which is really kind of like its most recent journey. It's been here about 100 years. And it has, I want to talk about that later, about all the ways that it's changed. But the bottom line of it is that had you been interested in Buddhism, say Japan, India even, you would have walked into a place where it was all very well established and there was a container, there's a head of it up, whatever, there's Dalai Lama, Tibetan Buddhism, you've got him and he did sort of sets the rules kind of. But we don't have that in the West. We have containers that the religion had in the homeland. So it's on us to figure it out on our own. And in fact, we're offered this huge array of possibilities that are very confusing. You have to sort through them all and see what works. So if you feel that way, if you look at Buddhism and go, that's normal. That's true. That's what we're facing. So I've tried in this class to kind of help talk about the basic teachings that are the same everywhere, and give people an exposure through the readings to some of the modern teachers that you will find, what they have to say. And we went through the methods, the different methods, which include meditation. We will talk about meditation tonight. But there's also chanting mantras, so contemplating slogans or teachings. There's a lot of different ways of training in compassion and kindness practices, going beyond just the basic meditation. And those are all out there too. So I wanted you to just know that. If they would tonight with any kind of reactions, questions, themes that to discuss or whatever. So I'm going to pause now and see if you do. Anybody? Yes.
I think like a year or two ago, I attended one of the Monday night intros on Zoom. And I felt at the end of the class, like I had a good sense that there were multiple options to pursue. And I didn't really, it was kind of like you're describing, like, oh gosh.
Where do you start?
Yeah, and what's a good match for me? It
Right.
ended up being like, what nights am I reliably free?
Right.
But
That could be good.
so like, I wonder if you either can talk through in like a high level tonight, or I think you shared many resources in the reading, but like there's a place where we can kind of, either like something that's customized to our interest, background, whatever.
Yes.
Or maybe it's sequence to, if you want to like try a few and find for yourself what path is a good match for you.
Yeah. I will run through here at EBS to start. Not the only option. I mean, there are lots of things online, for instance, and systematic programs to study, sequence, like you're doing. So we'll go through that.
Great, thank you.
Anything? Did you guys have a specific question, or no, brought you here?
Well, I just felt compelled on, and I missed it.
Okay.
And then I got on the class schedule, and I said, well,
okay. And is this your first exposure to Buddhism?
No, I've been to the silent sit before, and I have some friends that actually participate up here. And I guess I'm just looking for answers.
Okay. Well, let me know if there's something that you want me to say more about. And you? Anything?
I just came to gain a little information, maybe some perspective.
Okay. Well, let's see. Okay, let's see what we can do. So generally speaking, this whole path, all the Buddhist path, is about changing our attitudes. And one teacher used an analogy of that the world, we are taught to look at the world like this, basically like this. Focusing on one thing at a time, problems. It's actually pretty effective to do that. Like this gets the job done for a lot of things, getting through the day, getting school on time, getting the groceries on that one task. But it obviously limits our perspective if we're looking through a tunnel like that. And so the attitude that Buddhism is encouraging in us is one where there are no clenched fists, that your openness it's openness, open. There are more possibilities. There just are. You can see better. You can relate better. You can take in more and give out more. And so, that's, I think, what we all want, whatever brings us in the door in the first place. Like, a lot of people come here, especially in the last 4 years, about anxiety, stress, depression, all the things that COVID has done to us, not to mention world circumstances. So we come with that and we hope, but actually what is change our attitude, everything that hits is easier to deal with, ultimately. Sanity, coming back to our hearts when we need to, and stuff like that. So if you were to take up Buddhism seriously, it is fair to expect that your attitude will change. And if you have friends that, people all say this, oh, my friend is so different, I wonder what he's doing. And for me, that's what people that I liked how they were, and I wanted to be like them. And so it's not just how it feels inside of you, but it's also what radiates out from you to the people around you. It is fair to look out as an outcome, not so much because in each meditation session, each tape, it'll be this, it'll be that, it'll be whatever. Don't focus on what are you accomplishing right this back over the course of time that you've, and you're softening. If I have some, because the change happens slowly. It's like, learning to sing or something. It takes a while. But it should happen. So if you have been at it a little while and you feel stuck, or if you're just getting started, I want to suggest a few things. First of all, and I called the class Finding Your Own Path, because like I said, we're kind of on our own. And anyway, so first we'll get in. People have been doing these practices for fine-tuning and homing them, making them perfect. So there's a lot of really good advice and information out there. And that means reading books, it means attending teachings. This is an example, but there's all kinds of teachings. So that's the first thing, is get instructions. Using it doesn't make any sense, put it aside and come back to it later. It's just not the right time for that. And then surround yourself with good people. To be Buddhist, not every good person is a Buddhist, but there are a lot of people that are open, wise, and patient. You meet them, right? So recognize you can do this with support from, reach out. I would say maybe the most important thing is to try to develop consistent meditation practice. And this is the bugaboo for most people, because it's not easy to fit that into whatever else we're already doing. Everyone feels guilty that they don't meditate as much as they should or as often. So it turns into this like, oh, I should go to the gym. I don't want to, And that's not good. That's not what we're after. So if that's how you feel, just back it up a little to be very, very small doses. Very, very small doses. And I would say that it took me 20 years to develop reliable daily meditation practice. That's just the way it is. Even if you get it going really good for a few months, then you get sick and you can't do it, or something else, and just don't be hard on yourself about that. But make it a goal, just say, okay, if it's going to be every day or 5 minutes a day or whatever, just start with that and then expand on it. Build on success rather than setting yourself out to fail. This meditation really is the basis of everything else. And so you do need some experience with it. we can talk about, EBS offers a lot of resources for that. That's kind of what we offer the world, is meditation. So you're in the right. And I want to also refer to the reading that Anant Tupten that I gave you from, where he mentioned, he gave a talk 2020, just as the world was shutting down from COVID, talked about extraordinary times and the extraordinary opportunity to make a change or whatever. And that turmoil and breakdown is also opening, is also potential. And so I think what I take away from that is that I need to protect my own mind. I mean, not just think, oh, I can doom scroll all day long and it won't affect me, or it will, And we saw, they're harping this poll that came out a few days ago where in the swing states, Trump is winning over Biden. That's going to ruin a week of your attention if you let it, right? So the thing is and my take from his warning, not only is this much changing, so the war, everything, right? The day is on us. But also we have a whole keep us hooked, scared, what's next, what's the next poll number? So you're in this kind of hostile environment, frankly, in terms of this and in terms of peace. Just saying, that's part of it, is to and that's part of finding the good people, finding the people that are hopeful and optimistic and have smart, good things to say and can show us where the good stuff is happening. So, are there any questions or comments about that so far? This is supposed to be a dialogue, right? But that's okay. All right. I know you, so I'll keep going.
I have like a out of curiosity question, more fun than it is serious, but I guess I have a sense that here in the West, we, as it relates to Buddhism or mindfulness, some catching up to do for the reasons you just explained, but also because it's not, or I grew up in Little Rock and it was not a part of
Right.
mainstream,
Right.
offerings. Are in countries where Buddhism is the predominant religion, I don't know, is there, how are things different for the average person who is doing a little less breaking habits or trained? I mean, I guess it was kind of inherent in their upbringing.
Yeah.
To have a daily meditation or to be open-hearted or be more compassionate.
Well, that's a good question, and I will tell you what I know, which is not that much. I haven't lived anywhere else, and I do know people that are Tibetan and from Asia and that kind of thing. That, for example, their cultures are way less guilt-ridden, puritanical background, and we're never measuring up. The Dalai Lama came here, he was stunned at how everybody felt guilty all the time. It's why? What did you do? They do feel as wholesome and good, and they view each other that way. Parenting is different. The care of all is different. The real role of old people in the society is different. It's just less, they do not have prisons like we have. or, we're pretty hard. We're pretty hard. In the 90s, the Dalai Lama sent 1,000 Tibetan families to America because he wanted Americans to meet Tibetans. Met one of these families, Berkeley, and they hated it here. They said that the year was overwhelming. Like wanting to cover their children's ears and eyes so they wouldn't buy this. Everything boiled down to what you could buy or what the next new thing is. And that is not true. Or at least it was. It may be true now. Because everything is. But so useful to and or people that are from other places. We are blind to our own culture pretty well. People have had to, I've heard so many. Dalai Lama had an interview with someone, or some Lama had an interview with some Westerner, and his aides would have to say, he would say, what are you talking about? And his aides would have to say, well, in the West, they have this, this problem. And it's like, wow, it's bad, We live in a culture that believes in original sin, right? Honestly, and then you have to fix yourself. You're broken to begin with. Children are broken to begin with. If you're in bad places because you did something wrong, probably. If you're poor, lazy, and I don't think it's like that. But it's not necessarily because they meditate. But I think it's a belief system. Okay, so let's talk about when it came here. When it came here, not only was it kind of an extraordinary time becoming global when Buddhism got here, an extraordinary time in terms of Buddhism. So we have, when we took up Buddhism in the West, changed it. We have changed works, not teachings, but the way it works. And the reading by Houston Smith talked about about that the government democratic independent people. So the monastic hierarchies that existed in the home countries in Asia, which still exist there, didn't come here. They just didn't work. They did not transplant here. So you don't see Buddhist monasteries all over the place like you do in any Buddhist country. If you go to Japan, you see Zen monasteries, and they're beautiful, but So we're doing it without that structure. It's like harder for us to play it more seriously in the West than they did in Asia. Still do, kind of, though that's changing, thankfully. But we didn't have. There's just such an entrenched, People feel sorry for you if you incarnate a female body. Because oh dear, it's going to be hard for you, Anyway, but here we have more women are out and visible. Part of the scene, we have a lot of very important female Buddhist teachers in the West. Also, lay Buddhists in the West, non-monastic Buddhists, meditate much more than they do in Asian countries. And I think I told you the story about Suzuki Roshi coming here in 1959, 50-something, from Japan to Japantown in San Francisco and opening a Zen center. And his first people were the Japanese, local Japanese community, and they would come on Sunday mornings and hear him talk about Buddhism, and then they would go home. That was it. They did not meditate. But these Westerners started showing up and saying, teach me to meditate. And he had to go to night school to learn English. And he did, so he could teach the Westerners. And they would sit with him for 10 hours at a time. And it's extraordinary, because so I don't know where that comes from our, like, I gotta see it for myself. I won't believe it till I do it myself. I don't know. Or we're just open to it, or I don't know. But typically, and I think it was in the reading that they said that when they survey Buddhists, that Western Buddhists talk about how meditation is the core of their Buddhism, but Eastern Buddhists talk about their teachers, their monks, their, that kind of thing. Culturally, it's most important. So, yeah.
Was he the first, do you know who the first teacher was who came to the West?
Yeah, well, the first teacher, I'm not sure,
Yeah.
but I think there were a couple of Japanese teachers that came earlier than him, like in the 40s even. And they didn't strike fire like he did. He was the first one. His book, Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind,
Right.
is still the #1 selling Buddhism book, all this time later. And it's just a transcription of his lectures to those Western students. As a matter of fact, November 17th through 19th, we have a Zen teacher, Clint Sparks, is going to teach on that book. He's teaching, he lives in Hawaii, and he's teaching by Zoom, but we are going to gather here and listen to it together. You could also listen at home by Zoom. So that is, there's a poster in the shoe room, and also on our website. I encourage you to look at that. It's pretty cool. And Flint is a American-born, he's a former psychiatrist, I think, who worked with cancer patients before he became a Zen priest. So he's amazing, really good. So anyway, that is typical of what we do at ABS. We try to introduce teachers to people. But anyway, the last thing I want to point out about when it came to the West is that we're literate, and we read books, and most of us get most of our Buddhist education from books. And that was not true. In Tibet, people were not literate. I mean, they are now, but in the 40s and 50s, as the Tibetans were leaving and coming here, 25% of the population was literate, and families would typically send a child, a boy or a girl, a monk or a nun, to become educated, to learn to read, and then that would be the reader in the family. And the family would support the monastery. There was a kind of symbiosis. It still is that. That is still true. But they also have public schools and stuff now. But here, we all wanted to read it for ourselves. People could study the original scriptures. People can, out, and we like that. So I think we have the same sense of urgency right now that the Buddha had when he went out on his quest, but we have a approach than he did. And the last thing is that we have all that accumulated stuff available to us. So I want to boil all that down to say, explore, expose yourselves to different teachers and traditions until you find one that resonates, and then commit to a serious effort in that tradition for a while. all of us have tried different things at different times, and that's fine. But do something seriously when you do it, like you get more out of it that way. And see where it takes you and make friends and rely on people in that tradition. So it's like, or play an instrument or something, there's scales and right and rote practice, but fun happens when you sing with other people. And so when you can take that meditation practice from home and share it in turn, not just meditating with other people, but just being around people that are also, trying to open their tight fists into, and relate to the world in an open and honest way. It's just so refreshing. So I will review now the things that are available here at EBS. But first, again, any other comments or questions?
I
Yeah.
wanted to ask just about virtue Buddhism coming to the West and more Westerners taking to it. Is there maybe subconsciously imbued our own colonialistic ideas or Americanisms
Yeah.
that we're just inherently filled with?
Yeah. There's actually been a lot of confusion when it came here. There have been scandals and just missteps, and stuff everywhere. Even Suzuki Roshi Center, after he died, went through this whole big thing of people sleeping with people they shouldn't have. And, because there were no boundaries really, there weren't any understood boundaries. And we didn't understand, it's like, what is the relationship to a guru or to a lama or to a sensei? And we don't have an equivalent in America. And so there was that kind of thing. And also, one of the biggest teachers in America, Chogyam Trungpa, warns about what he calls spiritual materialism, which is, deciding that you're going to be the best damn Buddhist there ever was, and make it right, and everything gets part of you're gonna really fix it, and make yourself a better person and stuff, and really kind of lose all the softness and openness that's supposed to be there because you're busy making it into a trophy, or something. So all of that, I don't know if all that also happened back at the home country, but I know it happens here. And there's a lot of shopping. I mean, in terms of, a nice bell, or nice beads, or we're very like, boy, you always go to the gift shop at the monasteries right away. Statues and stuff. But yeah. But on the other hand, if you surveyed America right this minute and you said, who are the people that are Buddhists? Many of them are college educated. Unfortunately, I mean, we all long for more diversity. We all long for poor people, because certainly it's not exclusive to middle class people. But if you scrape the surface, what you find are college educated or close to it, middle class people. And I can't explain that, but that's just one of the consequences. Maybe we don't have a tradition here that they do have in the East, which is supporting people who want to pursue a religious life. We don't really do that very much. And so that means you got to be able to pay for it, on your own. Yeah.
Is Buddhism classified as a religion or a practice?
I would call it a religion. It is my religion for sure.
Okay.
But I don't know. I often see lists of the world religions that leave it out. Yeah, and so, but I don't know. I mean, I think that because there's no God, if you think of a religion as,
Because I thought about a practice. Remember when you were talking about poor people, economically challenged, I wrote it correct, whatever.
right,
Remember Karl Marx made that famous, it's an opiate for the masses, and so they tend to look for that savior. And I think the savior is the mind, your
Yeah.
own mind, and it's a
Yeah.
very different way to conceptualize.
yeah,
Something last week said something to that effect. It's not really a religion.
he's not a religion, and he's a Buddhist
Yeah.
teacher.
And he also said something that kind of pulled the dirt off of my roots a little bit. And refuge, don't sacrifice, disavow deities.
Yeah,
I think what he meant, I thought about it a long time, I think what he meant is, and he followed up with that saying, basically your salvation is gonna come from within, not from without. So don't look out here and find your path. I think that was his exact words, find your path,
right,
find peace that way,
yeah,
instead of,
right,
looking for some savior or some deity. But kind of a first cause person, I believe strongly in science,
uh-huh.
but I also believe in causal relationships and things. And there's at some point you go, well, how did all this happen?
Right.
Am I going to give that up totally? I don't know. I think I'll believe it because it's my best explanation for things.
Well,
Since Stephen
I mean,
Hawkins failed me.
Steve.
He didn't come up with a good answer, so, and he died.
Yeah, we're still working on what it's all about, or Wahaga. But, there is a really complicated and thorough cosmology in, I know of the Tibetan version. I'm not sure what the say or whatever. I don't think Zen people talk about it, but the Tibetans are very, which means that everything that happens is dependent on the causes and conditions in existence at the time that it happens. So that nothing has a singular cause. It's all like this whirling mass of things going on. I could go on. It's all there.
Did you say the term?
Dependent origination, or interdependent origination. Interdependent. Like his book you're reading, the sunlight that had to get on the tree that made the wood, that made the paper, how much goes into everything, how complicated. And then to think that you caused it, this book, so it's me, is an illusion. Or that, Jesus gave me this book, it's just like, really we want to know that it's all like moving all the time and it's all open and evolving. And then the other one that is that everything is going to have consequences. Every action is going to lead to something. And that doesn't mean that, you're forced to suffer because you did 5 lifetimes ago. But it does mean that a country like America, with it has, is going to have to work that out. It's not going to go away just because we don't, and deal with it. So,
I was banned books.
yeah, that's right. If you talk about it, that'll work. I know. Yeah.
And in terms of the religion, not religion as a philosophy of life, whatever, I've seen Buddha teachers say, doesn't matter if you're a Buddhist or not, don't worry about it. But the actual, like, suggestions of like, try to not do any harm, be kind. The karma of that is you will be happier for it. Try it out. See if you don't, you become truthful, you become kinder, you become more like introspective about what makes you feel healthier and more compassionate. See if that doesn't make you happier. That's good, that's great. If you're interested in the kind of the religious aspects, which kind of feeds a sort of a different stream, there's all of that too, but it's like, it's not a matter of that. And so you'll find very little people. And to Buddhism, we don't ever do that here either. It's just like, just try it out, take what you like. And, as Buddhism moved all through the continents and zones and stuff, every culture did what we're doing, which was like converted it to their own nomenclature and their own language and their own outlook. And so they're all flavored, have the same quirks as that culture always had. That Buddhism does, goods and bads, as to the West. We really inflicted our own karma on it, but we're bringing a lot to it too. We're bringing a democratic too. So, yeah, we have some real qualities we're giving it. I wouldn't call it, what do you call it, colonial.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't think it's that thoughtful. I think it's just like, well, we get it processed in our meat grinder of a culture, and there's the sausage, folks.
The thing is that the big difference here is that all these different places came here at the same time. So we got it from China and Japan and Korea and Tibet and all at once, Vietnam. And so, well, who are they? It's just this big buffet. And
I remember, I love this so much when someone was interviewing the Dalai Lama, and I'm not sure of the question, but he just said, he's Tibetan, of course, my religion is kindness.
right,
That's what Mick said.
yeah.
That's my religion.
Yeah, his other one that I love is he said,
Yes.
which is like, there were no exceptions,
Oh my gosh.
It's just like, mind blowing. But when his country was invaded by the communist Chinese and totally destroyed 6,000 monasteries, he prayed for them every day, for the Chinese. Still does, prayed for the Chinese every day. And he said his biggest fear was that he would have anger towards them.
Does he say that he does not? Or does he say that's why he prays every day?
Right, that's what he's working with.
Yeah.
I'm sure he does, but he has never launched a counteroffensive or hate the Chinese or anything like that.
That's
And
amazing.
always worked to try to make peace with them. Anyway. That was a good question, thank you. So I want to leave time to meditate for a few minutes, and just let me say, this class was going until 8:30, wasn't it? I can't remember, was it? What do you guys, or did we end at 8? I can't remember.
We're ending at 8.
We were ending at 8, okay, then we'll end at 8, we'll do that. So I want to give us 5 minutes of meditation, just because we always do that. But let me just quickly go through the EBS offerings. And every day there are opportunities to come here and just meditate. We have the 30 minutes from 11:30 to 12 every day. And on Saturday and Sunday from 9 to 9:30. And Mick is the host of some of those. And anyway, and on Wednesday night, we have a class that just talks about meditation. It's not one of the Buddhist traditions or the other. It's not even Buddhist meditation. It's just meditation. And people come and talk about that, share tips with each other. So we have a Korean group based on Korean Kwanum Zen. They meet on Tuesday nights. They chant in Korean and English, and you can get a flavor of what Korean Zen looks like. And they read some books, and they talk, and they meditate. All of our groups basically read some books together, talk together, and meditate together.
And they do prostrations.
They do prostrations.
If you're old, you don't have to do prostrations.
They let you
Too
not do
bad.
that. That's right. But it's all the groups also sometimes have chants and things at the beginning and the end, so that are part of their tradition. But if it weren't for that, you would feel like you're all in the same. They're all very similar. Let me just say that. The Vipassana group that meets on Sunday nights is based on Southeast Asian Buddhist traditions of Vipassana is what we talked about in this class, the foundational level category. I said there were 3 categories. There was foundational and Mahayana and then Tibetan Vajrayana. And so the Sunday night group here is the only one we have on personal improvement, so to speak. You're working on your mind, you're working on your discipline in your life, you're working on taming yourself. And all the others that are Mahayana, all the others here are Mahayana, which means the ideal is of a bodhisattva, a person who takes care of others. And that is the predominant category in the West, are Mahayana traditions. Zen is one, the most common, and all the Tibetans are Mahayana. So the Vipassana group on Sunday night is really a good place. They also used to before COVID, and hopefully will start again too, leading 4-hour sittings on the weekends, once a month. And I have to remember to remind them to do that. The Soto Zen tradition meets on Wednesdays just before the meditation group at 5:30. They meet at 5:30 to 6:30. They are reading Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. They are hosting the teacher that's coming, or he's coming by Zoom anyway. And the way they feel Japanese is just the discipline of the form, the way they meditate. I love it, actually, very quiet and still. And they walk, it's very supportive. If you're troubled and shaky, you can get with these folks and they can keep you straight. We have several Tibetan groups. Here last weekend, Anant Tupten is one, and his group meets on Saturday mornings, and they listen to his teachings and they talk. There's a group, Choki Nima is our teacher. He has a program online that's based on Tara. Tara was mentioned in the readings. She's a very popular figure in Tibet. She's a female Buddha. And he has a program called Tara's Triple Excellence, which is a systematic online training in Tibetan Buddhism. The website is dharmasun.org, S-U-N. And there are 4 of us that are in that program that I'm pointing to the room we meet in, but that doesn't mean anything to you. But we meet on Sunday mornings and do a little practice from that and support each other. And then Dr. Lai, and I referred to him, I basically did this class, structured it on what he did a year ago. He's another Tibetan teacher. His center is in Asheville, North Carolina. His group is on Sunday mornings at 11. And he sometimes Zooms in with them and gives a live talk or 2 teaching, but they also visit his previous teachings and talk about them. And we go to that one too. And he came here, he was here in July, he'll come back probably in the winter. So there are others, but finally I want to mention Thich Nhat Hanh's group on Thursday night. And his books are great. He died a few years ago. But his whole thing was kind of a social justice form of Buddhism. He was an advisor to Martin Luther King and active in the anti-war movement against the Vietnamese War and stuff like that. So people in that his teachings tend to focus on or have at least that angle more so than the others of what can you do to help the world. So I think that's it. We have just a few minutes, so I'll let us sit for 5 minutes, okay? I won't tell you what to do except this. Use your body, let your body help your mind settle by settling your body into a comfortable, upright posture. The Zen teachers call it a ready posture. I like that description. And relaxed but ready. And then use your breath to connect with this space around you. And leave your body. Notice your body breathing a few times. Connect with your body that way. And then I want to invite you to think of that image of a closed fist and an open hand. And when you have thoughts going in your mind, just think, oh, there's my fist. You can also just say the word thinking, because that's what it is. It's just your mind thinking. Well, there's a thought. And then when you notice that you're not thinking, that's your open hand. Those are both happening at the same time, all the time. But we only pay attention to this one, usually. But the other one is there. So think of that image and see if you can catch your mind being open and peaceful and relaxed. So I'll ring the gong and we'll do that for a few minutes. these, through you, you can take one. We give these out in the monthly class. You already know everything that's in here. You guys, but you're welcome to have one. I like the little map that shows it going from India to around the world, but anyway. So thank you so much for coming to this class.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, do you guys want to say anything about the retreat? You did the retreat, huh?
So did you.
I did,
I knew you'd
from my
like it.
sick bed. Yeah. Yeah, from my sick bed.
It was,
True. It was great, yeah. Yeah. Good, yeah.
Emotion, which was good, it was cathartic.
Yeah, that's good, yeah. He's so sweet, you know? He's so
Oh,
much-
gosh, so funny.
And funny? Yeah.
Yes.
I like it.
I think he was in a really good mood. You seemed like it. I mean, from what I could tell, yeah. Okay, thank you, Hart. Thank you.
My heart,
We'll call it night, I guess, then, huh?
this was so wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah,
so
thank you
much.
for
coming.
offering us.
Thank
You
you
have
for
to do
coming.
it